Hi, welcome back to my channel. I have been taking a little break from posting because I've been going through a huge energetic shift. And I feel that this energetic shift is collective. So in this video, I will share a little bit of the guidance that I have received for myself during this shift. But let me give you a little warning first. This message is going to present you with your choice as an individual, with your free will as an individual. And so if you feel that you are not quite ready for that at this point, proceed with caution. This shift that is happening right now can really best be described as the death of our collective soul. It's like the old heavens, the old gods are dying and being recycled, and all of the guides and angels that have been residing in these dimensions are moving into different densities. So this death and shedding of our old light, our old sun, will affect us in many different ways. And I think that many of you have probably begun to feel this feeling of profound change happening, profound change being around the corner. And so the way I see it is that this energy will become more and more manifest after the new moon full solar eclipse in Sagittarius on the 4th of December. But the energetic shift, the shedding process, really begun on the full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus. So let me get into some details. I have some notes here that I will be referring to. When there's a full moon, the moon opposes the sun. The sun and the moon are standing opposite each other, and the side of the moon that is towards Earth is fully lit up by the sun. In this state, our moon, our feminine, has a light side and a dark side. She operates through duality. When there's a lunar eclipse, the Earth stands in between the sun and the moon and casts a shadow onto the moon. In this state, the feminine loses more and more of the light of the sun, and she operates more and more through her innate dark side. So in this particular lunar eclipse that took place in Taurus, most of the moon was actually covered by the shade of the Earth. So let us talk a little bit about what this forecasts, that the shadow of the Earth will begin to cover most of the moon. The moon represents our subconscious. It's the element of water, it is the ocean. So symbolically speaking, our moon is therefore our energetic womb. Just like new life emerges from water, our spiritual new life, our manifestations, emerges from our subconscious. All of the spiritual initiations that we go through come through our subconscious before they can manifest. We can also choose our timelines via the subconscious. But if we're not conscious of our moon power, if our eye and our mind is never looking at our feminine, our moon, our emotions, then we are not present in our feminine power. It is like our masculine, our eye and our mind are not bright enough to fully protect the feminine, our energetic womb, our subconscious. And the seeds of the karma based on the time that we live in can easily make their way into our womb and impregnate us in this state when our eye and our mind is separate from our own subconscious. And so in this state, what we manifest is not really based on our free will. It's not based on our presence. It's dependent on what kind of energies manages to find their way into our womb. And so in times when our collective moon is operating through duality, half light, half dark, we will automatically manifest a bit of both. We manifest a bit from our light aspects, our soul, and then we manifest a little bit from our darker aspects, our shadow. But in times where the shadow of the earth is beginning to cover the moon, we will automatically manifest less and less from our soul and more from our shadow. So that is what is starting to happen right now. And that is why it's becoming more and more vital to begin to bring our consciousness, our light, down into our subconscious, to observe what's going down there, so that we can begin to understand how to take back ownership of our own destiny. So this really is a time of union, and the way that I have been guided the most to create union in my own life is through beginning to observe the shadow of the earth. And so of course, what does this mean? The shadow of the earth is a lot of things, and it will mean different things to you specifically. And that is part of your specific purpose, the specific areas that you are meant to bring light to. We will all have a little bit different expertise. It depends on the life that we have lived, on the karma that we were born into, and this also guides us further on our way. But in general, we can say that the shadow of the earth is all of the karma that we as a collective have not been willing or able to digest and bring understanding to. It is all of the feelings that feel completely disgusting to us. It's the feelings that make us fear, makes us run, makes us shut down our lights and hide, makes us spiral out of control, or makes us pretend to be in control by taking on masks and putting on acts. Or even worse, it is the feelings that completely darken us and turns us into violent demons ourselves. If we are not aware of our old mind, our old light and its programs, then we will do anything to not having to look at and digest, sit with and understand these feelings of our own dark feminine. And so this is a time where we can experience becoming trapped in the energy of the devil, bonded to our own addictions in an attempt to escape our fears related to the dark feminine. And then when we do that, we take on the light of the old masculine. This is the false light. This is a consciousness that pretends to not care and not feel by only being extroverted, by changing his own system, oftentimes in artificial ways, by taking substances to make sure that he's trapped in this kind of a dopamine cycle where he's no longer able to really feel the depth of his own being. This archetype is the only archetype that has really been able to cancel out the dark feminine. And so automatically, this is what our system will kind of suggest to us if we are trying to run from the dark feminine and if we're not really aware of ourselves. But at this point, even that old light, even the false light that stands in opposition to the dark feminine is beginning to go out. What also took place with the full moon partial lunar eclipse in Taurus was that as the earth stood in between the sun and the moon, casting her shadow onto the moon, we also lost most of our internal connection to the sun. And the sun represents our soul. It is our light, our awareness. This means that as the dark feminine, the shadow of the earth, became more powerful through the eclipse, the old light, the old consciousness that has been standing in opposition to the dark feminine to balance her out, this consciousness started to leave our subconscious. And this is the feeling of the angels leaving. Our old guides, our old gods are moving on. They are no longer in the same place guiding us. They are shifting densities. And this means that humanity's old way of handling the dark feminine is becoming outdated. It no longer serves us. It will no longer serve us. Those guides will no longer serve humanity. So this might sound scary, but it's not necessarily a negative from an individual perspective. This is what will bring us death, transformation. It will bring us freedom and peace, one way or the other. So let me explain a bit more. At this point in time, most people are not individualized, meaning that they do not have a soul of their own. If we as an individual has not chosen to begin to look at our own subconscious, if we never look into our own darkness to bring it to light, then we have not yet chosen to begin to build our own unique soul. We have not chosen to call in a light on our own, a light that is created because of our unique life. When we look at our own pain, our own shadow, our own trauma, and we bring understanding to that, we kind of unpack it and understand the different players and their feelings and their traumas, and how this all came together to create the experiences that we have to live through. When we do that work, that is when we build our unique light. We as an individual choose to take our energy, our time, to bring understanding to our darkness, and that grants us a soul of our own. We make our life more valuable by doing this type of work, because we understand the reasons that our traumas were created. This means that it's almost like we take our traumas, our pain, and we transform it into light. We transform it into our dharma. And this process of transformation, of healing, of understanding and ascension, it would not have happened if it was not for your unique life. And so that's why this act of bringing light to our shadow, it brings a lot of meaning to our unique life. It means that we begin to bless ourselves. We begin to become our own angel, making ourselves more valuable. So in many ways, we are not yet operating through the full capacity of our humanity when we do not have a soul on our own, because the life that we live, the destiny that we manifest, does not come from our individual choice. It comes into being because of energetic rape, energetic slavery. Something sneaking into our unprotected womb, into our unprotected subconscious, and affecting us. And this is the way of the animal. So no wonder that we feel so shit about ourselves in this state. No wonder that we feel like our life is without meaning. In many ways it is, because we're living a life that we were not meant to live. So this is something that we, I'm sure, have all gone through, are all going through. It is the karma of our time. But this is now starting change, and it is becoming more and more easy for us to transform this old way of the old light. So what we are going through now might feel like a darkening on some levels. We might feel like the dark is beginning to creep in on us, beginning to eat away at us. But this is really nothing to fear. The dark is only eating away at the old light. But we can choose to begin to build a new light by observing what is happening. This event happens to bring choice back into our hands. It is part of awakening our free will. It is part of helping us become conscious creators. It is the creation of humanity. You know, it's the sign of Capricorn, just before we move into the age of Aquarius. And so it's a point where we have to choose. Do we choose the old light, you know, our old collective soul, the old way of looking at things and keeping the dark feminine at the bay? Or do we choose to create something completely new that only we could create because of the life that we have lived? But it's very normal that we fear doing this. This is our old mind speaking. You know, it's the old light speaking. It's the narrative of the light that only knew how to handle the dark feminine by banning her from his kingdom and calling her evil. So this consciousness only knew how to handle negative emotions by calling them negative and then ignoring them, running from them, or maybe even artificially changing our own state by ingesting substances to get away from these feelings of the dark feminine, because our mind, our light, our collective didn't know how to handle them. That light is dying, but that light is not going to go down easy, because at the core of that light there is a belief that I am special. I am more special than anybody else. I am the one. I am chosen. And so we will feel this narrative within ourselves. We will feel this battling between the righteous, light masculine that uses words and labels to curse and to raise himself above the dark, evil feminine that just wants to suck us into her womb so that she can break us apart and create another sun. So for twin flames, you might be giggling now, because many of you have probably already gone through this process within yourself, this shift. This is what twin flame separation is all about. It's about exploring these forces of creation through our own subconscious. Instead of running from the feelings, the intense desire and love, and then the shattering heartache and sense of powerlessness and just unworthiness. Instead of running from that, it's like many twin flames chose to walk right into that. And when we do that and we stay with these feelings through their ups and their downs, we begin to learn about the historical records of these feelings. Because these feelings are part of the history and the blending of the masculine and the feminine throughout different eras here on Earth. It is part of our collective toolbox as humans. It teaches us about the different selves that lives within our subconscious, the different cells that lives within our body, and by allowing our mind, our I, to learn from and understand these workings of our inner earth, these layers of our reality, we can begin to communicate more directly with these layers of life that lives within our own body. which is our personal earth. And so through this process, we actually learn how to co-create more consciously with the nature that is our body. But to do that, we cannot be afraid to communicate with it through their own language, which is feelings. We have to feel what they have had to feel to be able to understand their position, their state, and truly hold compassion for the life that they have had to live. So this is how we learn how to become an authority, a light that actually cares about the foundation that holds him or her up. You know, there is a lot of talk in our collectives about how the rich should help the poor. You know, the people on the ground, the lives that have less, because this is what holds the towers of the rich people in place. But when we start to awaken to our own subconscious and our own body, we realize that we are all rich. We are all these rich people. We are all these authorities. We all consist of trillions of cells. Cells that can make choices. Cells that build our towers. But do we even care about this life that is beneath us? Does our mind even notice it? So by doing this type of work, we can begin to process a lot of karma right now related to evil authority, authority that is blind to the pain that they create in other life. And this will again really turn our vibration around. You know, it will really, it enlightens us. It enlightens our body. It means that the life that lives within our body feels as if it can trust us more. It can trust our consciousness more. And so it changes our entire state, you know, the state of our body. So if we spend time right now and over the next couple of years building our new light, our new masculine, the new authority within our own state by looking at the dark feminine, you know, the shadow of earth, whatever that means to you, then we have the opportunity to process this karma that we have to face right now in the matter of years versus having to use lifetimes. We can process the karma inside our own subconscious before it manifests externally and start draining us on an entirely new level. So beginning to invest into practices that bring light to our subconscious, to our shadow, is very, very beneficial at this time. This could be practices like meditation, journaling, creating art, writing, dancing, poetry, working with the tarot, you know, all kinds of divination tools, working with astrology, communicating with nature spirit, with herbs, with trees, and even things like learning about the earth through science, biology, physics, math. It's really anything that you feel drawn to that is about learning something new, but that your old mind might be like, nah, what's the point? If that happens within you, if you feel this like you want to try something but your mind tells you like, there's no point in that, then you know that you've struck gold. This is the path. Because by choosing to invest a little bit more time into that, you will begin to break down this old light that could not handle the darkness, that could not walk into the darkness because of his own fear. And at the same time, you begin to build your unique light that is created because of your choice, your courage to walk into the unknown. So even though this is a time of darkness, it is such a beautiful, sacred time as well. Pluto is at the final degrees of Capricorn, and the sign of Capricorn is that of winter. You know, it is the darkest time in the northern hemisphere. It's when the earth is completely frozen. Nothing seems to grow, and life rests deep, deep down within the earth. And it's really only the stars and the moon that can guide us. But since we're now going through a period where the moon will darken with the shadow of earth, only the stars will be able to guide us towards the new. And I feel that some of you watching this video, you are children of winter. You came because of this winter that we will have to face. You are stars that are meant to light up the way in your unique manner. And so this is not a time to give up on your dreams, to give up on the things that your mind is trying to demonize. It's really a time to become more present with these things than you have ever been. Giving yourself the grace that you need so that you can begin to develop your particular art, your unique way of bringing healing to the collective shadow. So take care, guys. I will speak to you soon.